So let's talk about enums and tuples. So what are enums first? Enums are a set of named constant, and what that means really doesn't explain anything to me. Show me the example, right? So let's look at an example. So if you might be familiar with enums from other languages, but enums in TypeScript are a feature of TypeScript that doesn't exist in JavaScript. So enums are the only exception in TypeScript where TypeScript generates some special JavaScript code, which we're going to look at in a second. But before that, let's just talk about what do we usually use instead of enums in JavaScript. So for example, you might have this object, which is a direction up, right, down, left, which represents the string values, and we often use this so our code can be reusable, so we can change it in one place, for example, and then we don't make a typo and have to change it in different places, right? So for example, if we have const direction, we can say up represents the string up, right? We have right, we have down, and we have left, of course. And then we're going to have a function move Pokemon, so pretend this is some game. Move Pokemon, we're going to pass in a direction, and our implementation is irrelevant. It's just going to log out that direction, and then we can say move Pokemon, and then of course we can say whatever direction, or we can pass it a string, but we don't really have type safety if we do this, right? So we're not going to get anything. So how can we type this out? So in this case, we can use a type alias, we can name it direction, and we already learned from the previous lesson on generics that we can use key of type of, I think, direction. And now if we hover over it, we're going to see that it inferred the literal type up, right, down, left. So we can do whatever we want here. We can say banana, and this is going to update. And how awesome is this? So if you hover over it, this is banana. But yeah, let me remove this, and this is a perfectly fine solution, right? Nothing wrong with this direction. And then when you try to use it, you're going to have all the options: down, left, right, up, etc. And then let's see how we can use an enum instead. So we can leave the type direction, that's not going to change, but we don't need a type alias anymore. So we're going to use an enum with the enum keyword. We don't need equals anymore. Let me just uppercase direction. And then this is a bit of a weird syntax, so you're going to say up. And there's more to enums, but you can read the documentation, right? This is just the too long didn't read version of that, right? I don't really use enums and tuples that often. Left. Yeah, and that's it. So now we have this, and then this is a really cool way how we can use enums. So we can go here, and then if we have auto completion, we can say direction, and then we can pick any of these options that we had before, right? And that's how enums work. But also let's look how they're compiled. I'm going to go to the TypeScript playground, and I'm going to paste the code in, and you can see that this is really some funky output. So this is how TypeScript implements enums in JavaScript, which is really interesting, and you can have a look at the code yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much for it. So next, let's learn about tuples. So what is a tuple? A tuple is an array with a fixed number of elements. So a useful use case of a tuple is where the order is important. So for example, take this type RGB color. So for RGB, it's really important you specify it in order using number, number, number. So it can be number, string, or whatever. And then we can specify this. We can say number, number, number. And then we can declare const color. We can say RGB color. And then we can say 255, 255. And this can't be anything else. So we can't use string, right? Because there's going to be an error. We can't use true or false or anything else. So it's really important we only specify this. And of course, we can specify another one. Or for example, if you want opacity, we can't do that because it's going to complain how it doesn't match the type. Yeah. So source has 4 elements, but target allows only 3. So this is a really useful use case of that. And then we can see if we create, let's see, RGBA color. So now we can say it's number, 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 and we also can specify the opacity, but it's optional, so we can use a question mark. And then we can say color is of type RGBA color. And now we can say 255, just repeat this, and we can specify the opacity, and it's complaining because we already have it defined here. But yeah, if we hover over it, we can see everything is fine, there are no complaints. So let's look at the last example, which is, I don't know, if you have Cartesian coordinates, right? Cartesian coordinates. And then there's also a tuple. You usually have x, y, but you can specify that it's going to be number, number, right? And then you can say const coordinates, Cartesian coordinates, and then you can say free for or whatever, and that's it. So yeah, there's more to enums and tuples. You can read the documentation. This was more of a short version of that because I honestly rarely use them, if ever. So yeah, basically that's it. So catch you in the next one.